Okay. So I request everyone to keep their camera and mic muted for now. You can, and then whenever we will start with the live question answer session at later for last 10-15 minutes, that time you can come on the screen, right? So I will share my screen and the presentation. We have selected around 25-30 questions which are most relevant, or the questions which are not being repeated, because there are some questions which were asked by participants again and again. Okay, some there were some regarding instruments, there was some regarding irrigation. So we have removed those repetition, and followed by two videos I'm going to show you of two molar RCs, which we the exactly the same thing which we are going to discuss now. We will see them in videos. Okay, and the third part will be we will take few actual live questions, maybe related to video, maybe related to otherwise. Okay, so I'll start with my presentation. Okay, uh, so let's start with the today's session, and that is, as we said, is Ask the Expert session, and we have selected a few questions, and we will start with them. And whatever, meaning whatever you have queries, you can just write them down, or in the chat box you can write them. And whenever we are going to discuss the videos or otherwise, we will stand see more of them. Okay, so the question number one, other than lignocaine, which is the other best alternative anesthetic agent? It's such a good question. Frankly, we have done a fantastic webinar with again Mega CV, and it is on their YouTube channel. You can ask them for the link if you want to. It is there, and it is basically anesthesia in endodontics. So we have, and there were so many questions about anesthesia, so I decided to include one or two of them. Otherwise, if you want to learn them in detail, you have a proper webinar with you, and it's a 1 hour, 1 hour, 10-minute webinar which you can always listen to. Okay, it's on their YouTube channel. Whenever you have time, you can listen to that webinar. So, how many of you have anything more than lignocaine in the practice? Well, most of us don't have, and I don't know why people hesitate not to have it. It's so simple. Whenever you write painkiller, do you write only one type of painkiller? Do you write only ibupara, or only diclopara, or only aceclopara, or only paracetamol, or only ibuprofen? You write. There must be some dominant molecule in your practice. You may be preferring to use some particular molecule, but apart from that, sometimes you write ketorolac, you write some other molecules also, right? So you have that option. Antibiotics, there may be dominant antibiotic one in your practice, but you, in case of difficult infections or some selective cases, you may prefer to use some other antibiotic, right? Likewise, who tells us that lignocaine is the only anesthetic solution that we should be using? We should have more options in our practice. One of the option is called bupivacaine. Bupivacaine is a long-acting anesthetic agent, and which acts for like really long. The action can go up to 12 hours. Like it is 11:30 in the morning now. If anesthesia is given, patient may actually call and tell you that my effect went out at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock in the night. Okay, so if you are using a bupivacaine, you have to be careful that the patient is being informed about it, and we will avoid using bupivacaine in children naturally, because they don't understand what is anesthesia. They tend to scratch, they tend to bite, so it is better that avoid it. Another anesthetic solution which I use in my practice, in fact, rather almost exclusively, what I use in my practice is Articaine. Okay, so Articaine is a synthetic anesthetic solution, and I use only Articaine, meaning I do not practically have lignocaine in my practice. Articaine is safer, and Articaine, the anesthesia is more potent, and especially in root canal cases, it works wonders. The quantity of Articaine required is actually lesser. Okay, the pain which happens with anesthetic solution is also lesser, because its pH is similar to the body pH, whereas lignocaine is slightly acidic. So that initial sting of pain which you get, it's not only with the injection needles, but it is also with the anesthetic solution that we have. So I will prefer to use Articaine in my cases, and I use something called Sunshine Gun by Dontix, and that is what I use for injection. I do not use normal needle syringes. Mm, So why some RC patients get pain even after injecting local anesthetic solution, and how to proceed? Again, similar question or similar background question, and the answers are there in that whole webinar which we have. Such favorite question of dentists that these kind of questions keep coming again and again. And believe me, we all say that half done is well done, well begun is half done. So if the beginning is good, a lot of things are done already, right? So the same thing happens over here. Now, one has to understand that why anesthetic solution is not effective. There could be simple reason. One of the simple example which I'll give you. We normally hold the mandible in our three fingers. The thumb goes on the anterior border of the ramus, index finger goes on the posterior border of the ramus, and the middle finger supports the lower border of the mandible. And we literally hold the mandible in three fingers and go from the opposite side and try and enter and hit the bone, right? And that is where we inject. Why do we inject over there? Because that area has got what do you call uh, mandibular foramen, right? Through which the mandibular nerve or the inferior nerve enters inside, right? Now, when I try to inject there, I'm actually blocking the whole nerve. Unfortunately, if you pick up OPGs and see 10 OPGs in your clinic, you will find sometimes on the ramus, it is here, sometimes way above the occlusal plane of the upper teeth, sometimes way below the occlusal plane of the lower teeth, and it keeps changing. Okay, so if we have these kind of issues, naturally we need to we need to solve this problem, right? So that's one of the thing. So inflammation is definitely an issue which we need to tackle. Shift on anesthetic solutions, change the anesthetic solution, you will find a lot of difference. You can use ibupara combination that will reduce inflammation of the pulp, and that may help us to certain extent to begin with, to before we start the case. Okay, so this is what they are like quick tips which I have given, but again, you have a complete webinar with you, so you can decide, you can see that webinar and you can have detailed information. uh, Okay, the rationale of single sitting and multiple sitting root canals, and efficacy of uh, uh, CHX as compared to NaOCL. These are the two questions asked by the next doctor. Now, rationale of single sitting versus multiple sitting root canals. I'll give you a simple example. It is Sunday, and I have stomachache, and I have to go to the doctor in emergency, and doctor sees and tells me that okay, it looks that you have got appendicitis, but it is Sunday. I'm busy. Let's do one thing. Let me just open. Let me just drain the abscess which you have there, and the remaining surgery will do after 2 3 days. Does this happen? No, right? This does not happen like this. Whatever is done in single sitting. Endodontics, root canal science, is also a minor surgery only. Now, if we are going to do surgery, then we are definitely wanting to do it in as quick as possible, right? We do not want that area to get infected again. So, given a choice, my preference is going to be a single sitting endodontics. However, doing single sitting endo is not that simple. The there is a change in protocol. The protocol doesn't remain the same. We all feel that okay, I may be working with a similar protocol, but that's not the case. A multiple sitting root canal, which we routinely follow, and single sitting root canals have different protocols. Now, what is the major difference? We have to see to it that nothing get pushed beyond apex. Okay, nothing get pushed beyond apex. Even if it is a vital case under the vital tissue, if it gets pushed beyond apex, patient will have pain, and that could be one single setting or multiple setting. Just that multiple setting, you may have a vent for that pressure to release through the roots, and the pain can be lesser. That's the only thing. Otherwise, there is no reason I will keep opening the tooth and let it get infected again and again. In today's date, we should be using rubber dam. We all must shift on rubber dam practice. We all know that even in COVID times, all the more important, because we do not want to have the aerosols generating over there. But we know that we are supposed to get into rubber dam practice, and majority of us are not practicing rubber dam. Let's accept the fact. Now, when we are not using rubber dam, and when we want to do root canal, what typically happens is, after a few minutes, every time patient says, "Can I spit?" and he goes, he spits, and he comes back. And that molar, that tooth where we have done the access cavity, is filled with saliva. Every time we again wash, we again irrigate with sodium hypochlorite, and then after that, uh, we continue with our instrumentation. So during the whole appointment, patient closes his mouth, spits, gargles, comes back 5, 6, 7 times. Every time his tooth is being filled with the saliva. Every time. That means 600 plus species of bacteria. Who tells you to reinfect the tooth again and again, soil the tooth again and again with so many sets of bacteria? Why do we need to do that? There's no need, right? So we can always cut down on this. And one of the way is using rubber dam. Second thing is reducing the number of sittings. Whenever patient, so try and finish root canal in single sitting. Uh, there are studies which say that if the protocol is followed, single sitting versus multiple sitting, there is no increase in pain in single sitting root canals. Okay, so the proper protocol is very important. Now, the next question is efficacy of chlorhexidine as compared to NaOCl. Well, there are many ways, and there's like, although both of them are irrigating solutions, but probably comparison is not a good idea over here, because uh, NaOCl, both of them are antibacterial, excellent antibacterial. In fact, probably chlorhexidine has a shade better because it works on uh, some of the bacteria like E. faecalis, Enterococcus E. faecalis, better than NaOCl. NaOCl probably cannot kill this bacterium, and this bacterium is always found in failed root canals or in non-white cell teeth. Okay, so if it is so important, then chlorhexidine should be our main irrigating solution. Then why don't we use it that often? For the simple fact that chlorhexidine has got two issues. One is it reacts with quite a lot of materials to produce precipitation. One. And second thing, it does not have that unique property of sodium hypochlorite to dissolve organic tissues. In simple words, when we use sodium hypochlorite has a ability to dissolve the pulpal tissue. Okay, and that's how actually combination with activation of sodium hypochlorite, that is how we actually empty all the creeks, crevices, and areas. We know best of the rotary systems in the world can only touch only about 65% of the canal walls. There are 35% of canal areas which are not touched by any of the rotary instrument, any of the files. Okay, so if 35%, that is one third of the area, is not touched, how is that clean? That is again cleaned by action of tissue dissolving action of sodium hypochlorite. Okay, and when we activate, it reaches deeper into these tissues, it reaches deeper into the lateral canal, accessory canals, and clean those areas, which property is lacking with chlorhexidine. So we choose wisely throughout my instrumentation. My main irrigation is going to be NaOCl, and at the end of that appointment, if I am doing it in multiple sitting, I may give a close dressing of chlorhexidine. Else, if I'm going to obturate, I can again use chlorhexidine, wait for a minute, and then simply dry the canals with paper points. Simply dry the canals with paper points, and do not use anything after that. Not even water, no water, nothing, because it has got a unique property of substantivity with which we want to take advantage of that. And that means chlorhexidine remains active inside the canal, biologically active inside the canal for more than 21 days. So we want to leave CHX molecules inside, just dry with paper points. And because of substantivity, property of substantivity, it will still remain adhered to the canal walls, and it will help us in containing any bacterial infection left behind. Okay, we go to the next question. Some of the questions were sent by mobile, so I'm including them as well. Can we perform endodontic treatment uh, in teeth with Taurodontium? Now, what is Taurodontium? Taurodontium, if you've seen that the pulp chamber of the tooth is quite big, okay, and the roots are smaller. We can perform endodontic treatment. In fact, if I have to say that endodontic treatment in the teeth with Taurodontium is easier because the canal length is smaller. Usually canals are wider, the pulp chamber is bigger. All I need to do is prepare the canal and fill the canal. Sometimes it can be as small as 5, 6, 7 millimeters. Okay, the crown portion is bigger, the pulp portion is chamber portion is very big, and the canals are short. Okay, so of course there are different grades into it. So hypo, mid grade, or hyper, whichever is the one. In fact, in Taurodontium, the root canal treatment is easier to perform. Okay. Role of SDF in adult dentition is not in the pretext of this lecture, so I will avoid that question. Uh, Presently, which is the best technique for doing RCT and sequence of the file in that technique? File should be used in what part of the tooth while cleaning or shaping? So in short, it's about cleaning and shaping. So let's spend maybe 4 5 minutes on this question. Presently or otherwise, for me, the technique which I follow always, and which you will see in the videos, upcoming videos which I'm going to show you, is basically a crown down technique. So what do I do in that? Whether I'm using rotary or reciprocating movement, my filing will be crown down technique. I'll give you a brief background for it. When you are doing root canal, say you are working on a molar, okay, what typically a dentist does, he takes that 10 number or 50 number K file and he tries to reach to the apex. Okay, he tries to reach to the apex, so-called apex. He doesn't know or she doesn't know where the apex is, and you try and push the file inside and try to reach to the apex. Now, when we are trying to reach to the apex, what do? We do not know, but in the canal is filled with vital or non-vital tissue, that is called tissue. Now, we push this beyond apex. We just do not realize, but because the file is now occupying 80-90% space in the canal, and which was otherwise filled with the pulpal tissue, right? 100% filled with pulpal tissue. Now this gets pushed beyond apex. Okay, and if it gets pushed beyond apex, what happens? Body does not recognize this tissue there because it serves no function there. It is pulpal tissue. It should be inside the tooth and not beyond the tooth. Okay, so PDL says, who are you? We don't know you. You are foreign body over here. You may be vital, non-vital. It has to be cleared from there, and that is done by phagocytosis. If it is a non-vital tooth, there will be a severe inflammatory reaction because of the bacteria pushed beyond apex, and also their toxins, right? That will lead to severe inflammatory reaction because that even they have to be killed. Even phagocytosis is nothing but inflammatory reaction only, right? And inflammation has its own cardinal signs, right? So patient will have pain, patient will have swelling, patient will have all kinds of problems. And we did not even realize that we initiated all this. Okay, so how do we take care of this problem? I say, what is the hurry to reach the apex? I never try to reach to the apex in the beginning. I will just go around 14-15 millimeters inside the canal and not to the full length of the canal. Okay, so cutting length of a file is 16 mm. I may go 13, 14 mm, and that's it. Not 15 mm at the most, and not beyond that. I don't know the length of the tooth, and I do not want to know the length right now. I will always divide my canal in coronal third, middle third, and apical third. I will try and clean my coronal third first, then middle third, and then apical third. So I keep cleaning, I keep irrigating, I keep emptying that portion of the canal and then go further. While cleaning coronal third and middle third, naturally there's going to be a lot of sodium hypochlorite in the canal, which anyway start dissolving the tissue in apical third. And as this tissue dissolves, the canals get empty. And then when I put my 10 number K file right towards the apex, I practically do not push anything beyond apex. Patient's pain is much, much lesser, right? So crown down technique is the best technique right now for doing RCT. Okay, so naturally the sequence of the file is going to be my coronal flare file. I use Micromeca system, so I use one flare over there, and then I will prepare the canal with the middle third and the apical third. So usually my middle third canal preparation is usually with my 6% taper file, whether I'm using Hero Shaper, Hero Gold, or Two Shape, One Cup, whatever. Usually is the 6% taper file, and usually the apical taper preparation is apical third preparation is done with 4% file. Now, if I want, I can increase my preparation to 6% further if I want it. Otherwise, if the preparation is good, I may stop my preparation at 4% only, but minimum 25 number. By the way, this is the what you see over here is not a virtual background. I am sitting in a beautiful scenic Lonavala. Those who are from Mumbai or area will know about Lonavala, Khandala. Those who are not, this is a beautiful hill station near Mumbai, and I am sitting at one of my friends, Dr. Deepak Jain, who is also an endodontist at his bungalow. A nice, beautiful mountain which you see behind, and a very nice weather. So that's why I chose to sit on the terrace instead of sitting in the in one of the room. The next question is about access preparation. The factors play a role in proper access cavity preparation. A very important thing, access cavity preparation is dominated initially by the internal anatomy of the tooth, and a normal cavity preparation for filling, for normal fillings, is dominated by external anatomy of the tooth. Okay, what do I mean by that? A simple example I'll give you. A patient has class 1 cavity in upper premolar. Okay, so class 1 cavity in upper premolar, meaning you will be following the uh, the groove, and which will your preparation is going to be from mesial to distal. Very simple. While removing decay, mesial to distal, when you are removing decay, you realize, oh, this is very deep, and this will now go for root canal. So what do you do in that case? When you realize that this tooth is going to go for root canal, you simply tell patient, okay, that I'm going to do root canal for this tooth, and now you start preparing bucco-palatal. Are you getting me? Will you continue cutting? Of course, you will remove the decay, complete decay, but apart after that, will you continue cutting only mesiodistal and then try to search the canals? No. We know the internal anatomy of the tooth. We know that there is one buccal root and there is one palatal root. There is one buccal canal and then one palatal canal in this premolar. And their pearl thorns are also the same, one buccal and one palatal. So we will be entering through them. So although my caries are mesiodistal, my preparation is going to be bucco-palatal. Okay, so this is one of the most dominant factor right now when we consider endodontics. Second thing is, right, a good straight line access to each and every canal. Nowadays, I see a lot of dentists preparing very small openings. It's absolutely fine. If you're using magnification like microscopes or loops, you can restrict. And if you're ready to change your K files as well as rotary instruments more often, you can definitely prefer to use you keep your access cavity conservative or ultra conservative. That is fine. Or if you have support of CBCT for almost every case, then also it is fine, so that you don't miss any canal. Okay, it's not only about the size of the opening. When you have magnification, you can see inside stuff better, right? Then you can have better control on it, right? So when you know this, you have, and if you do not use all these things, if you do not change your instrument very often for your cases, like practically every case, no, we do not, right? In that case, our access cavity preparation should be it should be conservative, but it should be reasonably wide, and we should be able to see all the canals when we move mirror in 15-20 degrees. That is the test which I say. I do not, gone are those days when we used to say that when I should be able to see all the canals in one go in my mirror. No, it's absolutely fine to move the mirror in 15-20 degrees if I could do that. And that is a conservative operation generally. Please have ultrasonic tips in your clinic. Okay, nowadays ultrasonic tips have gone cheaper. They're not that expensive. They used to cost 6, 7,000, 8,000, 9,000 rupees each tip. But with some of the companies like Woodpecker have reduced. Woodpecker's my ultrasonic tips are in a range of 1,000 rupees per tip. So instead of buying that 8,000 ka one tip, I can buy 8 different kinds of tips in the same budget, right? So we can really refine our access cavity better when we have these tips. I'm going to show you some of this in the upcoming videos, so you will have a better idea. Okay, so uh, access cavity preparation, to have better control, one must use ultrasonic tips, which are specially designed for this. It is good if your scaler has an endodontic mode. It gives you a better control on it. Okay, some of these tips can be diamond coated, some of these tips are non-diamond coated. Each tip has got its own role, and there can be a separate lecture on this topic. Okay, now we go to the next question, that is irrigation. When to irrigate, what to irrigate, and how much to irrigate? A very good question. In today's date, the most important or the most spoken topic in today's date in endodontics is irrigation. If we know the purpose, if we understand this, things are much better. A lot of dentists ask me, how do you get beautiful lateral canals filled? What's your trick? Well, there is no real life trick as such. Okay, what does it mean to get something filled? It has to be emptied first, right? Do you have a case? Do you have any type of file which essentially can go into lateral canals and accessory canals? No, we do not have any such files. So what do? We use uh, uh, our irrigation effectively, especially sodium hypochlorite, is basically the irrigation which we use, and we use it really effectively. So when we are using sodium hypochlorite, we heat it. There's something called intracanal heating. Now, a lot of people heat it into a coffee maker or something. Warm, they call it warm sodium hypochlorite. Now, warm sodium hypochlorite, what is warm? 45, 50 degrees Celsius. And then take it in a syringe and then put it in the tooth and irrigate. By the time you pick it up and you start irrigating, uh, the temperature of the sodium hypochlorite drops down to 40, 45 degrees Celsius. Body temperature is 37. And the moment you irrigate inside the tooth, it in next 10-15 seconds, it drops down to 37 degrees Celsius. That is body temperature. What is the point of heating? So usually heating is done with pack gun, the pack and fill gun, which we have, the pack gun, which we from the actuation device, which we use, that has got a tip which can be used to bring sodium hypochlorite close to boiling point. Okay, so that's the most efficient way of doing it. That's one. That will increase efficiency of sodium hypochlorite multifold. Especially the dissolution is increased multifold. That's one. Okay, and second thing which we have over here, uh, who is having the control, Dr. Mangesh or someone, I saw your name, and Can you please erase this? Whoever is doing this, can you please erase this? Okay, anyways, so we have to uh, we have to irrigate, and our main irrigation is going to be sodium hypochlorite, and that has to be activated. Ultrasonic or sonic activations are the best way to activate the solution. There can be unlimited time debate whether you to use sonic or whether to use ultrasonic. It is similar to whether to use petrol or whether to use diesel. Everything has got its own advantages and disadvantages. So that's absolutely up to you. But what is important for me is to irrigate. Please irrigate. That is extremely important. Irrigation is very important, and activate it. Activation is all the more important. Okay, with if you could heat and activate, that's the deadly combination that will dissolve all the pulpal tissues from all the areas, including lateral canals. And then it's just about filling. Okay, and if we could obturate those areas, there will be the obturation will be seen on the x-ray, right? So how much to irrigate? You must irrigate with sodium hypochlorite after every 5 and at the end of the session there are going to be irrigation cycles. So during the case which we have a couple of videos which I'm going to show you, I will show you my irrigation protocol also over there. uh, this is what happens when I, uh, can I can see Dr. Tanuja over there. Can you please stop making any changes? The advantages of bioceramic sealers over traditional zinc oxide based sealers. When we talk about ideal sealer properties, the sealer should be antibacterial. It should not either it should never contract, or it should never expand. It should be extremely inert. It should not lead to any inflammatory reaction, right? It should never resorb. All these properties are there, which are desirable properties. Now, zinc oxide eugenol based sealers, they are mild antibacterial and not forever. Okay, zinc oxide eugenol sealers are known to resorb over a period of time, and we do not want to see that resorption. Okay, now all these properties, bioceramic sealers take over traditional zinc oxide eugenol based sealers. Okay, so bioceramic sealers is the future. What I can clearly see, and then there was one company, and then there were two companies making bioceramic sealers, and now we had only a couple of companies selling the sealers until 1 year ago in India. To at least 6-7 companies that I know of are selling bioceramic sealers, and I have a feeling in next couple of years at least 25-30 companies will be having bioceramic sealers in the market. Right now, by far the best bioceramic sealer is CeraSeal, CERASEAL, CeraSeal by MetaBioBed. So that's the best sealer one can have. Okay, so prefer to use bioceramic sealer whenever possible. Bioceramic sealers are actually fillers. Okay, so ideally they fill up the canal and that's it. But but we still use GP point because GP point makes it a soft core, and whenever required you can utilize this soft core, meaning if you are going to make a post and core preparation, that time you should have soft core so that removal of this filler or sealer can be easy. The second thing is, whenever you want to do retreatment, that time again it is possible, right? So these are the two areas where bioceramic sealers definitely bioceramic sealers will help, and with single cone obturation. So bioceramic sealers, the obturation in most of the cases is single cone. You do not require lateral condensation. That makes your obturation simpler, easier. And here the obturation is sealer dependent, okay, which itself is a filler. So that is how it dominates. your obturation. Okay. How to remove a ledge? Well, the best thing is not to have a ledge. Okay. But unfortunately, if you have it, how do we remove it? So typically, if I have to show you over here, this is the, say, a canal. Okay. I'm not using mouse, so it's a little difficult for me to draw. Okay. Now, to have a ledge, try to understand this. So, removing ledge becomes very easy for you. Try to understand this. To have a ledge, there are certain criteria to be fulfilled. Okay. Can you prepare a ledge? Can you make a ledge in a straight canal? No. A canal is straight and you want to have a ledge, you cannot. You try your best, but you will not be able to. So the canal usually has to have a curvature, and then you will have ledge. And the ledge is typically then uh, uh, okay, and then the ledge is typically on this side, opposite side of the curvature, right? So we have a canal, and we usually will have ledge on the opposite side of the curvature. You will never have a ledge on the same side of the curvature. Never. Okay. Usually, wherever the curvature starts or wherever the curvature increases, that's the area. Now, you may break the sequence of the files. I have my 10 number K files, and after that, I'm bored to use 50 number, or my 50 number K file stock is over, or my 20 number K file stock is over, and I'm jumping the sizes. From 10 to I go directly to 20 or 25. In that case, having ledge is a strong possibility on the opposite side. Okay. So if I avoid these things, I may not have ledges. But not all the times we can control this factor. So what do we do? There is already a ledge there. It is so simple. When I put a file, and if my file is straight, it will every time try to enter inside the ledge. Okay. So what I will do is I will pre-cover my file. Okay. I will pre-cover my file and then enter inside the canal. Then enter inside the canal. But how do I, from outside, how do I know whether I'm working in this direction or the opposite direction? I will not be able to make out, right? So whether I'm going with pre-curvature of my K file, whether I'm going in the correct direction or I'm going in the opposite direction. We have a rubber stopper on the file. Okay, if it is a money file, it has got a beak. If it is a Melifer file, it has got that black line. Okay. And if it is a micromega K file, they do not give anything on the rubber stopper because we may remove rubber stopper at times. Okay. So they give it on the plastic handle. They give a line on the plastic handle. Whenever you pre-curve, you do pre-curvature in that direction. So looking at that line or the beak, you will come to know in which direction you are. Okay. Now take this and enter inside. Moment you get into the canal, okay, stop there and see, look at the line, and you will come to know, okay, so this is the direction where I'm supposed to go. And now try and be in the same direction. Okay. If you go in opposite direction, there is going to be ledge. So if you maintain this, you will work in correct direction. Now this is when, and then move the file in smaller strokes so that your file does not come be out beyond the ledge. Okay. You will work in smaller strokes. So you clear, flatten that curvature and remove that ledge area. Okay. And then you will be able to go to the next file. Of course, always irrigate well over there. Now this is easy with thinner files still. But as you go to say rotary instrument, because they are made of nitide, they again try to enter into the ledge, and my rotary instrument doesn't go inside. So nowadays, in today's date, the new files which we have, whether it is Hero Gold or Two Shape or One Curve or many other brand files, if you want, you can bend them. Okay, you can pre-curve them. So you pre-curve it, enter inside, put it in the canal, put the file first, go beyond the ledge, put the file over there, and then attach the endomotor and then attach the endomotor to the file in the mouth. I hope you got the trick. Normally, what we do, we pick up our rotary instrument. Okay, patient is here. Mm, the rotary instrument is in my hand. I have my endomotor. I put my file into the endomotor. Okay, I lock it over there, and then I take my endomotor with the file, and then I go and enter in patient's tooth. Okay, what I'm talking is reverse. First, with your hand, put rotary instrument in patient's tooth. Okay, pre-covered so that you can bypass and go beyond the ledge. Once you have put it over there, then you can attach your endomotor inside patient's mouth. Okay, inside patient mouth. You just have to adjust. For putting the file, you do not need to push the push button. Push button is only to remove the file, not to lock the file, only to unlock the file. So for just move and lock the file in patient's mouth and then start your endomotor. This way, you will be able to prepare further canal very easily. Okay. So that's one question. Okay. Time is 12:22. Maybe around 12:35, 12:40, we'll stop with questions and we'll go with the videos. So we still have 15-20 minutes to. Single cone versus lateral, single cone obturation versus lateral compaction versus vertical condensation obturation. Well, all techniques are okay. It depends what you're using. If I have to use single cone, I have to use bioceramic sealers, then single cone obturation is also fine. Lateral condensation is our common technique which we use in our clinic, and majority of the clinicians prefer to use that. It has got its own limitations. A simple limitation which we all face is we take a spreader and try to enter inside. Now the normal spreaders which we all use are made of stainless steel. There is no point in this kind of spreaders, because this spreader typically will go only up to beginning of the curvature and not beyond curvature. That simply means there will not be any lateral condensation happening in this area. So what do I do? If I'm using lateral condensation technique, I must use NiTi spreaders, and NiTi spreaders are available in the market. For example, Revo spreaders are NiTi spreaders which can efficiently go into curvatures, very easily can enter into curvatures. So if you're using lateral condensation, your spreader must be made of NiTi. Stainless steel spreaders are useless. And of course, vertical condensation is one of the best technique to use, but you require special gadgets for this. If you have an option in your clinic, that's one of the best thing that can happen. So systems like EQV are the best systems in the market to use for vertical condensation or 3D obturation. Okay, the single setting versus multiple setting, we have already spoken about this. 4% or 6% preparation to save peri-cervical dentin. So, well, now if you see, peri-cervical dentin is this, and it is no rocket science that lesser the taper, you will have more dentin. Now, try and understand this. So they were into until like around 2001 or so, we started getting some of the rotary systems in the market which had 7, 8, 9% taper. Okay, huge preparations, big preparations, and this went on for almost 2 decades now. Big preparations. And this obturation used to look beautiful because of that extra whiteness on the X-ray. Now tell me, what do you want to see? You want to see extra whiteness, or you want to have stronger roots? It looks that that extra whiteness is good. On the X-ray, we feel, okay, this is extra white and this looks really good. But it is not always the case, right? Where does this extra whiteness come from? It comes at the cost of radicular dentin. I have to cut my dentin, okay, make the roots weaker, right? And then only I can have this preparation. So given a choice, actually 4% taper can be the best taper. However, lesser the taper, more difficult it is for you to irrigate. Okay. So another factor which will decide is actual thickness of the root. If I'm working on a canine, 6% taper is absolutely fine, whether it is upper or lower canal, because the root is hefty. But if I'm working on lower central or lateral incisor, which has got two canals, I will prefer to limit myself to 4%. Okay, and almost half of them have two canals. So I will prefer to limit myself to say 25, 4%. Now, when I go to the lesser taper, irrigation is more difficult. Actual cleaning of the canals is more difficult. Irrigation meaning just using sodium hypochlorite is not irrigation. Actual irrigation which happens, actual cleaning that happens, cleaning and shaping, actual cleaning that happens in the canal is always going to be more difficult with lesser taper. So you must heat and activate your sodium hypochlorite, or you must activate your liquid EDTA, which is going to be used in order to clean the canals well, and then 4% taper is also enough. But nothing less than 25. Okay, nothing less than 25. I see some of my colleagues preparing canal only up to 20, 24% or 26%. That's not a good preparation. It has to be minimum 25. Okay, 25.4 or 25.6 is the minimum preparation required. Crown or no crown after the root canal? Well, it depends. If you have good thickness of dentin, only one wall of the tooth is left. So it is a three-walled cavity. Okay, then one can think of, or no wall is gone. It is has been a complete classification. Then one can think of not giving crown. Okay, now when we have decided to give crown or not to give crown, it is important for us to remember one simple thing: the what is the remaining thickness of the dentin on the wall? That should be usually minimum 2.5 to 3 millimeters. So if I have a nice class 1 or a class 2 cavity which is pretty small, and the remaining dentin has got a minimum thickness of 3 millimeters, I can simply go ahead and do a nice post endodontic restoration without the crown. If I'm not going to give the crown, I may not do occlusal reduction, which we typically do at the beginning of the case. If I decide not to do crown, I will avoid that because I do not want to reduce the tooth and then say, oh, I'm not going to give crown. No. When we do occlusal reduction, we over a period of time definitely compensate that when we are doing uh, crown, right? So it is possible for us to choose what we want to do. It is single setting root canal in a non-vital tooth with a large periapical lesion. Okay, seen on the radiograph, especially in anteriors. Okay, let me tell you, I have published in enough number of cases where we do single setting endo in non-vital teeth. The size of the lesion just does not matter. People have this wrong notion that bigger the lesion, more difficult is the claim. It's about why did that simple thing? Why did that periapical lesion exist only in that tooth? Because that tooth was non-vital, because that tooth had caries, because that tooth had trauma, and not other teeth, right? That tooth had some reason for this, and the pulp went dead. The pulp died. It went non-vital. Non-vital meaning there is no blood supply. Okay, so the body defense mechanism died. Exactly the similar thing which happens in mucormycosis, which we have in today's date, right? The the fungus affects the blood vessels, and the blood supply to that particular area stops, and that area dies. Okay, and that's how that area turns darker. So it's the same thing. The pulp, the blood supply stops because of the infection or whatever. Okay, and the pulp dies. And when the pulp dies, now bacteria can easily remain over there because body defense mechanism cannot enter inside the tooth. So bacteria can stay over there and they can continue affecting the and they can continue affecting that area. Uh, is there any issue with my internet connection? So, okay. I hope it is okay. So, uh, if, so that's how these bacteria trying to invade the body system, or these bacteria keep throwing the toxins out, and that leads to that periapical lesion. If the time is past is long, this lesion can increase in size. It can start engulfing other teeth. Okay. Now, size of the lesion doesn't decide the success. Please try to understand this. Size of the lesion doesn't decide the success. Especially if there is draining sinus there, I will simply go ahead and finish these cases also in single sitting. Okay. I will simply, the question, let us continue with the question. In above case, should we go for periapical surgery along with the root canal, or should we wait for this case to resolve, for this lesion to resolve? How much time does it take to resolve? How much time? I don't know. Sometimes 6 months, sometimes 1 year, sometimes you see that you don't see a complete healing. You do see healing, but you don't see complete healing happening even for the 2 to 3 years. That may not be actually healing. In your case, what you're thinking is bone formation, but sometimes there's something called healing by scar tissue formation. So, like the way we can have scar, the tissue may not go normal completely. Likewise, there can be fibrous scar in the bone. Okay, so that is that area is healed, but not with the bone, but the fibrous tissue. Okay, so that's another possibility. I will not do surgery. I will keep the patient informed, educated. And in 99% of the cases, you do not require surgery. You just do a good endodontics, good root canal treatment for that tooth, and that's more than enough. You do not need to do surgery in these kind of cases. Okay. So some of the questions which were sent on your this thing, some of the questions were sent by mobile, some of the questions were given to doctors. So this is by Dr. Jayanti from Salem, and says that one of what is the discoloration in teeth undergoing regenerative procedure, calcium silicate materials. Okay, so to make this question simple, there is something called regenerative endodontics. We try and create pulp-alike tissue. Okay, so we avoid obturation and we use certain calcium silicate materials. Okay, with which we can avoid this regenerative. It is still in a preliminary stage. Not every case can be treated with this, but we are definitely learning more about it. And who knows, after 5 or 10 years, we all will be regenerating pulp or pulp-alike tissue left, right, center. Okay, so to make it simple, uh, calcium silicate or based materials are typically MTAs or biodentines, okay, or some of the bioceramic putty which we can use. Now, this problem of discoloration has reduced. They used to be, we used to use MTA very commonly. MTA was introduced in our clinical practices way back in 2002. So this was the time when I was doing my post graduation, and one of my senior was one of the first one to do a study on MTA. So we were introduced that time. But those MTAs were gray MTAs, and these gray MTAs used to leach color over the period of time. Okay, so they used to bleach dark color. So if I have done a perforation repair and in a central incisor where doctor, while doing access cavity preparation, he came out through the labial, the burr came out through the labial plate or something like that, and I had to take care of that kind of a lesion over a period of 2, 3, 4, 5 years. That area is to turn gray. Okay, and there used to be a MTA tattoo. It looks like a tattoo. It looks like a dark area. Okay, because nowadays we have white MTAs. Okay, with which are zirconia based. The color is now changed. It is white. So prefer to use this, and these new materials do not discolor. Or if you're using biodentine, that does not lead to any discoloration. Okay, so just change of material will help you to avoid this problem. Okay, let me just remove this. Okay, so So what are the drawbacks of using an operative microscope in the field of endodontics? Well, let everyone start using a operating microscope at least. I have been into uh, microscopic endodontics since really, really long, since my PG days, working into it. Just a second, there's some message which I'm going. Internet is sometimes weak. Okay, I hope it is okay right now. Pankaj, you can call me if required. I'm putting my phone on. I'm removing it from silent. If required, you can call me, or I don't know if I can. I will unmute you.
Okay, sir. No problem.
Okay, fine.
Okay.
So um, yes. So what I was saying was, what are the? No, we should go to the previous question. Okay, drawbacks using operative microscope. Well, if you consider there's practically no drawbacks as such. The only relative drawbacks which you can, microscopes are expensive, they cost you. Microscopes, if you feel they save your time, no. If you took 45 minutes or 1 hour to complete a root canal, add 15-20 minutes extra when you are working under the microscope, because you see everything bigger, your perfection level increases, and you want to prepare the tooth, the canals, everything better. So you are going to take more time. So it increases the operating clinical time, and that can be a relative drawback. Now they say that when we are working on the patient, we bend and work like this, right? This is how we work. And we should not be working like this, because this leads to load on our cervical spine, and that can lead to long term. We are going to work for 2, 3, 4 decades, right? And during those 4 decades, we are definitely going to damage our spine. So neck pain is cervical pain is a typical issue which every dentist faces. But when you are working under the microscope, you are looking straight, right? You keep your vision straight. So that time you are definitely, meaning your neck is very well supported. It is not bent, it is very well supported. But there's something which happens. Most of the microscope users, who are there in India, they have microscope, but the chair which they use, on which they sit, is a routine simple chair, which is comes with the our dental chair. The stool which we have is a routine stool. Now the load from here goes, and now your hands are using microscope. You're working with the microscope. Okay, so your hands are not supported. Your hands are not supported from here, and they're hanging, and the whole load comes on your mid back. So to have mid back pain when you are using microscope over the period of years, having mid back pain is common. So to simply, the stool which you use should have moving, where you can adjust the height, and which can move front and back, that kind of chair handle. Okay, then your hand is well supported, and then you do not have any problem. So please, those who are going to already shifted to microscopes, should remember of this one particular change which they need to do in their practice. uh, what is the latest opinion to use intracanal medicaments in the present era of single sitting endodontics? Intracanal medicaments are medicaments which are used between two appointments. Well, majority of our cases are single sitting, 80-90% of them. So you do not really require them. I practically do not require any intracanal medicament as such, because in first setting itself, I have a rule that I will clean all my canals, I will shape all my canals, keep them ready as if I could obturate right away. It's just that I have deferred the obturation appointment to the next appointment. That's the kind of preparation which I'm going to do. But just in case if you want to, you could use simple thing like chlorhexidine as an intracanal medicament, or you could simply use calcium hydroxide as an intracanal medicament. Now, calcium hydroxide can block the canals, especially the yellow paste can block the canals badly. I avoid, I use water based, that is white paste, and that too, may dilute it. How do I dilute it? Meaning, I may not dry the canal. I have irrigated the canal, okay, with distilled water, and after that I don't dry the canal that well. I leave some water inside, and then I add calcium hydroxide inside. So that becomes kind of a slurry inside. It's not a paste anymore. Okay, so it definitely changes the pH in that area. It itself is an antibacterial agent, but at the same time, it will not block the canal. So it serves both purposes for me. I think we should. It's 12:40, so we should move to videos, and then as time permits, we should take further questions. What do you think? So we will be able to take some live questions as well. What do you think, Dr. Pankaj?
Sure, sir. We can do that.
Okay.
Yes,
So
sir.
let me give me 20-30 seconds to start the videos. I hope everything is going good so far. I hope the problem which we faced last time should not be an issue, Doctor. Can you? What do you see on the screen now? Dr. Pankaj, you can keep yourself.
Yes, sir. I can see the screen. And can you just start the video, please?
No. So what do you see on the screen?
Yeah, yeah. It's the video
Video with the tooth.
with the tooth broken from one side.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. So last time we faced this challenge, if you remember, we could not show the
Yeah,
video.
yeah. I understand, sir.
Works well. Okay.
Okay,
So
it's working fine.
it's working fine, right? Uh,
Yes.
this is a lower molar, as you know, and which has got radix entomolaris. So there was a distal root which you could see. So I'm giving intracanal, intrapulpal anesthesia. You see how I have bent the needle and I secure the needle well over there. I always prefer to give intrapulpal anesthesia, so the pain is drastically reduced for this patient. Okay, and use is usually TR13. Okay, and that's my favorite bulb which I use.
The video has stopped, sir. I think there is a network issue.
Uh, I'm using TR. Is it okay now?
But I think there is a network issue, sir. Even your coverage network is also showing red. So
Is it better now?
yeah, it's moving. Yeah, yeah. Now it's better.
Now it is better, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you see it over here, uh, I have just de-roofing excess cavity preparation. I just de-roofed, and there's pulpal tissue which I can see, and then there is a pulp stone. I don't know whether you noticed to begin with or no, but there is pulp stone, and I'm just removing some tissue and pulp stone with ultrasonic device, with ultrasonic tips. Okay, D600 is the gadget which I use for this, and this is by Woodpecker, and you can see that the pulp stone is out. Now I simply and for every case, I simply pick up my Micromega uh, uh, nerve brooches. Okay, they're extremely sharp, extremely durable. In a normal practice, one packet of brooches is enough for whole of year. So for 100 root canals or so. Okay, so from distal canal, distobuccal canal, the widest canal, I removed the tissue. Okay, pulp tissue, and now you can see that I'm removing tissue from the mesiobuccal canal. Right now, I am getting into mesiolingual canal. All you just do it, engage it not into the dentin, but into the soft tissue, maybe 360 degree rotation. And I am now going into distolingual canal. You know, it is radix case. Okay. And I could bring more tissue out. So a lot of tissue is out. And if so much of tissue comes out, life is so simple for us then, because the dissolution of the pulpal tissue in the canal, that load is definitely reduced. We need to dissolve our pulpal tissue, right? If we could not remove it physically. Now, I have picked up my coronal third preparation file. Okay, coronal third preparation file. Okay, that is one fillet in this case, and with my endomode preparing the coronal third. So you can see one, two, these are the mesial canals which are being prepared. I do not go deeper. I have not taken any diagnostic X-ray. Okay, and this is this mesiobuccal, distobuccal, distobuccal and distolingual. Okay, so these are the four canals where we have worked. Now I take my 10 number K file, but I'm still not reaching to the full length. I'm just checking. I have, of course, irrigated in between. Irrigation is always with sodium hypochlorite. I do not use any saline in my clinic in endodontics. I do not use any saline. I use only sodium hypochlorite. Okay, so all four canals checked. I hope video quality is good.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, so K file is being used in all the canal. If you and now I pick up two shape system. Two shape is a file by Micromega. This is TS2, okay, which is a red file with the blue rubber stopper, and this is 25.6% taper file. So I'm just going about 5-6 millimeters in each canal. You can see that the debris is coming out at the orifice. You can clearly see that. Okay, a lot of debris is coming out at the orifice. So, so same preparation in all the canals. Okay, then I use at this stage. Okay, at this stage where my coronal third and middle third has been prepared and well irrigated. After every instrument, rotary instrument, I do irrigation, recapitulation, and irrigation. Okay, so two rotary instruments have been used already. Now I use my apex locator. Okay, and at this stage I have used apex locator and taken my working length. Then I take my 10 number K file, try to reach to the full working length, and then I don't use my K file with my hand. I always put them in K file handpiece, that is called K400. So this is a K file handpiece. I do not want to waste my energy to prepare the canal with my fingers, with my hand. With precision, I can do it. Okay, with this. So I will always prefer to use uh, K file handpiece. 10 number, 12 number, 15 number. Okay. Once that is done, again I'm preparing the canal with TS2. That is to shape 2. To shape 2 is the file, which is 25.6% file, with which I'm trying to prepare maybe couple of millimeters more
So
further.
can you repeat the file name because I couldn't hear?
TS2, to
Okay.
shape 2.
Okay.
Okay, that is 25, that is 25.6% taper file. Of course, irrigation, lot of irrigation. I'm not showing you irrigation portion just to save time. Okay, and then I S1. This is 25.4%. You can see it is little thinner file. It is 25.4% taper file. Okay. So my canal is now, the final shape which I'm giving to the canal is 25.4%. It's a long canal. You can clearly see the lines for 1920 and 22 millimeters. You can see on the file shank. And I'm going inside and I'm preparing the canal. Now, I don't know whether you guys have noticed or no. I have been preparing. I told you that this tooth has got 4 canals, but I have what I'm showing you since in last 2-3 minutes. I've been preparing only 3 canals and not 4 canals. Well, let's see this portion first. Because these files have asymmetric cross section, you can clearly see the debris coming out at the orifice. Loads of debris at the orifice, so irrigation becomes easy. Canal cleaning becomes pretty easy for you. So I've prepared both the mesial canals. Now you can see that as the file is getting engaged over there, because of the auto reverse function, the file was going into auto reverse. It went into auto reverse couple of times. Okay, because of the torque control, and so we avoid breaking of the canal. Now these files are extremely flexible. They can safely be used the uh, 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 in the areas which are like there could be isthmus between distal root and distolingual root. We know that sometimes they are fused together. Okay, of course here we could see a separate root over here, but we want to clean that isthmus, right? So these files can safely be used. So you could see that I could bend and use it. Now we are irrigating again. We are removing all the debris. I use a side bend needle. Now here I want to stop this video and show you something important. I was preparing 3 canals only because one of the canal I broke a file. I don't think you noticed that. Did not come to know to begin with. Okay. So in this case, I'm not only going to show you a radix intermolaris, but I'm also going to show you management of broken instrument. Okay. Now, how did this happen? Though, as an endodontist, a lot of companies come and give me their sample packets of different file system. And one of the some new Chinese company, they send me some packet, and meaning sometimes you don't like to use these files, but just to out of it, any obligation or whatever, somebody has given you something to try and you want to try. I tried that file, and in first use I broke this. Okay, in first go I broke this just to avoid putting someone's name into bad taste. I did not show that part of the video, but you can clearly see a broken file. And now it's not only that extra canal which we have, extra root we have, but we have a broken instrument over there, which I also need to remove. Okay, so well, other canals have been prepared to 25.4%. So this is the broken instrument which you can clearly see, right? And we have to manage this. So if you notice this, this is what I'm using is a Gates Glidden drill, which has been cut half. So if you see the head of this, that has been cut half. Okay, so it is a Gates Glidden drill. Let me just go back and if I can show you. Okay, so it is a Gladstone drill which should have be having a flame-shaped head. Okay, so what you do is you simply take your handpiece and cut it half. So it becomes a Gates Glidden disc. Okay, it becomes a Gates Glidden disc. Okay, and this you use to prepare initial portion of the canal till you reach to the broken instrument. Till you reach to the broken instrument. Okay, so a lot of you wanted to see, and they had asked this question: how to manage broken instrument cases. I did not use it in take this in questions because anyways I was going to show you a case over here. Okay, so this is being used inside the canal. Now I will go and hit the head of the broken instrument with this. So the canal is been bit widened. Usually I use 2 or 3 number gauge Glidden drill over here. Okay, so you can see because it is gets Glidden, a lot of powder dentin which is being cut, and you can see the instrument. And now I take my ultrasonic device Okay, and this is a thin endo tip without diamond coating, which I'm going to move around the broken instrument. Usually, you just give some vibrations to the head to the head of the broken instrument. And if at all, if we are going to move it around it, you move it anti-clockwise. I don't know how you can see my finger, whether it is seen clockwise or anti-clockwise. I don't know the mirror image which you are seeing, but move it anti-clockwise. Why do we move this anti-clockwise around it? Because our instrument has broken clockwise inside the canal and we want to take it out. Okay, so move anything which is anti-clockwise. So at the same time, I'm trying to bypass also, because bypass is also going to make the file loose. Now you can see my instrument is getting bypassed, but not fully. Looking at the tip of this K file, you can make that out. Okay, that my K file is going inside from the side. Now you can see that I have stuffed the canals with cotton, so that if my file pops out, it should not go into some other canal. Okay, broken instrument should not go into other canals. So again, I'm using my ultrasonic tip and giving vibrations over here. Okay, so that it comes out. Always remember, give some space for it to come out. So you go in and then you come, or you go on the side. You come, you go on the side. You keep moving. Otherwise, if we do not give space for it, it may go loose and it may just remain inside. Okay. Well, there are many ways to remove broken instrument. This is one of the way I'm showing you. The instrument is still very much there in the canal. I'm trying to again bypass. Bypass also kind of loosens the file in the canal so it can pop out easily. Sometimes if the instrument does not come out, it is okay. If I could bypass it well, also is fine. Now you will see, as I try to bypass, the way the file is coming out, it comes out wavy. That means the canal, the instrument is blocked inside very heavily. My file is going with extreme, even my 10 number, 15 number files, if they are going to bend so much, bypassing is not a great idea, because as I go with thicker instruments, bigger instruments, I may break another instrument next to it. Okay, so another unsuccessful attempt. It takes time. It takes time. See this. See the file, how it has come out. Okay. So even if have bypass, this is not a good bypass, because any further file which go inside, that simply can break next to the current file. So again, I should try to remove it only. That's the best idea. And you can now actually see that the instrument has come out. You can see it over here and it popped out. It simply popped out the canal. Okay. And it is falling over here, down here. You can see it, right? I'm just pushing it, meaning I'm just going to lift it now. So with this vibrate, but because my K file also went from the side, so that some of the dentin was cut around, and it became easy for me to. Now the remaining sequence is the same. Again, I will pick up my 10 number K file, negotiate further canal. Now the file is going straight. Now I will use K file handpiece to prepare the canal further. This is 10 number K file, which is being used inside the canal with K file handpiece, which increases the chances, which increases the life of the file by 4 times, K files by 4 times, and chances of breakages of the K files with this handpiece are extremely low, much lower, 10 times lower than normal hand filing. You have to use it to believe it. And these handpieces are not expensive. They cost around 8,500 rupees, not more than that. So it's like once you buy it, it is going to last you for 10 years easily. Okay, so you're now check the working length. This is a 25 K file. And of course, you start preparing the canal. If you realize in first go, I could not go, and in second dip, I could enter, because first go, I may have had that ledge kind of a preparation of the broken instrument. And so I somehow wiggled the way through, and I'm preparing the canal further. Okay, if you have noticed, uh, all my canals have been now prepared to 25 4%. Okay, and I'm gonna put GP points inside. Did you notice that out of two mesials, I slightly bent the tip of the mesiobuccal, tip of the mesiobuccal on the mesial side. So even from mesiobuccal and distobuccal, mesial tip is slightly bent and distobuccal tip is slightly straight, because on X-rays, if there is an overlap, I should be able to make that out. So these are the four canals. You see how beautifully, I'll just try to go back. Okay. Now see, minimum preparation. So there is no excess preparation to remove broken instrument. How well I have maintained anatomy over here. That's the beauty. If you have magnification, things become pretty easy for you. Now you can clearly see four canals. Now is the part which is irrigation cycle. And I'm doing intracanal heating of sodium hypochlorite with my EQV pack gun. So I am bringing sodium hypochlorite close to boiling point. You don't boil it, so you roughly increase temperature to 80 to 90 degrees Celsius. And then comes the activation of the irrigation in place. So I'm activating the irrigant now, which will go on in each canal for 20 to 30 seconds, which is sodium hypochlorite, which is being activated over here right now. Okay, and this is cycle one. You do this 3 times. So sodium hypochlorite in the canal, you heat it inside the canal, and each canal you activate it. This is one cycle. Okay, second cycle, third cycle, you do it 3 times. Okay, then use distilled water in between, and now go on liquid EDTA. So I just irrigated with liquid EDTA, and no heating of liquid EDTA, just activate the liquid EDTA. Just activation and nothing else. Uh, has the video frozen?
Yes, sir.
I don't know why. So this is liquid EDTA, which will help us in opening up the lateral canals. I went back, so I am going back on liquid EDTA again. I don't know why video got stuck. It is stuck at the same level.
Yeah, again.
Mm. Anyways, the remaining portion was the obturation, nothing much, meaning that we have not really missed much of it. Just the post-op X-ray. If I can show you, I will show you at the end of the lecture. Let me take you to the next video. Okay. Is my screen seen now?
No, sir. I can see you, but not your screen.
I need to start share screen once again. It's a 10-minute video, but once this video is done, we are at around 1:15, and we will be left with 15 minutes more to take some old questions or some new questions.
Okay, sir.
Now you can see it.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
So you can see this is third molar, and it's with a nice curved root. Okay, so I'm starting with axis. Axis cavity preparation is going on. I use the similar burr. All decay is being removed from all the sides. A third molar with a nice curved root. Okay, so you will be able to see how to manage curved canal also. And just de-roofing has been done, right? And I always will prefer to use uh, intrapulpal anesthesia. So intrapulpal anesthesia is being given over here. As I told you, I usually use Articaine. Okay, you can see that intracanal anesthesia is being given in distal root. Okay, I continue with further de-roofing so that patient is not in pain, and there is so much of pulp tissue which I can see. Again, this is the barb broach which I'm going to use inside the canal to remove the tissues. Okay, so this is the barb broach which goes inside. Everything is in front of you. Just a slight rotation inside, because these barbs are so nice and sharp in micromega, and you can simply pull the whole tissue out. Okay, a simple forgotten step by most of the dentists. And if the tissue has been not been removed completely, sometimes it simply gets packed in the canal and we feel, oh, my canal is calcified. I can see it in the x-ray, but my file is not going further. It could be this loads of tissue which is simply getting packed in the apical portion of the canal. Okay, so release it from one of the canal. Now you start releasing it from other canal, the mesial canal, right? And try and simply grab and take it out. Simple spoon excavator. So you can clearly see uh, the tissue here. Now you can see its extension in mesial and distal, both canals is out. Wow. Did you notice that the mesial canal was C-shaped over here? So mesial canal was not only curved, but it had a C-shaped curvature, C-shaped anatomy. So let me just remove this bleeding happening from the mesial canal, and then you will be able to see it. So the other canal which doesn't have bleeding is the distal canal right now over here. And you can clearly see the C-shaped anatomy, right? So this is my side vented needle, which is being used for irrigation. I prefer to use side vent needles. So I do not force any irrigant forcefully. Now, in this case, in the X-ray, if you remember, you could see that this was very close. This canal was C-shaped canal, and it was the apex tip was very close to the mandibular canal, meaning in fact it is overlapping. You can clearly see, right? So I should not be pushing anything beyond apex. So you can see a nice curvature over here, right? I enter in the canal. And here I'm using 25.6% file, which is Hero Gold from the same family, Hero Gold, which is 25.6% file. Again, the concept remains the same, 25.6 and 25.4. So 25.6% file, which is being used right now. Okay, simple in and out strokes. Enter in. These files are extremely good in curvature management. I do not really have to do much. Of course, since the canal was C-shaped, there must have been loads of pulp tissue. So you will see that this keeps bleeding. Okay, the canal keeps bleeding till the last moment. but that's absolutely fine. It is a wisdom tooth. I have to also see to it that I don't do over instrumentation and go beyond apex over here. You could still see some pulp tissue coming out. Okay, although it looks like C-shaped canal, when I was entering inside, I could actually enter in three different directions. So probably there were three canal kind of an anatomy on the mesial side inside that C-shaped canal. Okay, it is still bleeding and could be because of that. So anyways, you have controlled the bleeding, so mesial and the distal ones, right? Removal of debris, and then with ultrasonic tip, I'm trying to slightly widen the anatomy, because as I told you that I felt there is some bleeding still happening, because there was the third canal, which was, so it was a wisdom tooth. It had a curved canal which was C shape, and in that C shape I could get one, two, and three canals. Okay, so I cleaned that C shape better with my ultrasonic covered by ultrasonic tip, and then the third canal which I found in that C shape canal, which is being cleaned right now. This is by 25 4% fine. Okay. Now, EQV pack unit used for heating of sodium hypochlorite. As I told you some time ago, we saw this in a previous case, and it's close to boiling point, and you can see the effervescence coming. And now I use ultrasonic device to activate it in the canal. You can see the activation happening. So same sodium hypochlorite which is being activated, right? You can see the ultrasonic nodes over there. 3 cycles of sodium hypochlorite, and then followed by 1 cycle of liquid DTM. That is what we are going to use. Okay, now I'm trying to dry the canals over here. So as I suck, most of the canal goes dry. And here I'm going to use bioceramic sealer in this canal. Okay, so which is Cerasil, which I'm going to use over here. So this is the Cerasil bioceramic sealer, which you can see inside the canals. GP point placed. Sometimes you struggle to enter in this kind of canals. The second GP point placed. And such a narrow space in wisdom tooth, placing third GP point was a great difficulty for me. But as I told you in the beginning of the lecture, the sealer which in today's date which we use are bioceramic sealers, so you do not really worry much. The GP is only as a soft core, so even if I don't put the third GP inside is okay. I know that my bioceramic sealer will take care of everything. So I just severed the excess at the tip with my EQV gun, pack gun. This is the distal canal which is being obturated now. Okay, again remove excess and do vertical condensation in this canal as well. Okay, so everything has been filled, vertically condensed. Now I'll show you post-op X-ray, and in which you can easily appreciate the obturation. So this is post-op. This is how we started. Okay, you can see 1, 2, and 3 in this C-shaped canal. You can clearly make out the anatomy. Okay, taken at different angulation. Can you see 1, 2, and 3? Right? Now, I did not want to overfill canal because of the close proximity to the mandibular canal that we had over here. Thank you so much to watch these videos patiently. And now, tell me, Dr. Pankaj, what do? We go back to old question answers, or there are some new questions related to whatever we discussed over here? We take
So I
them.
think in chat, few of the people have asked some questions.
I'm just going through the chat. Is it okay to perform without EDTA paste? Okay, that's a question. Yes. So this is a very good question. Okay, let me talk about it. If you have noticed all the instrumentation that I have done, whether I have used rotary instrument or I have used K files, anything that I have used was without any EDTA paste. Okay, we were one of those early speakers who started lecturing in endodontics way back in 2001, 2002. And so it's been almost 20 years I've been lecturing. And initially, those days, we only used to say that please use EDTA. But with time, everything changes. If I had some concept that time, my concepts are changed today. I've changed today. So we do not use EDTA paste anymore. We just use sodium hypochlorite while irrigating and nothing else. And why do we do that? Because when we are using liquid EDTA, EDTA paste, which is coated to instrument, we expect it to soften the dentin, correct? For that reason, we use it. Now, to soften the dentin, it needs some time to for it to work upon dentin, coat the dentin, have the chelation reaction has to happen, then it has to soften, and then we will prepare the canal, right? But we don't give that kind of time anymore, because if it is a K file or a rotary instrument, whichever goes inside, the canal is right now filled with sodium hypochlorite. And we all know that sodium hypochlorite and EDTA, when they come together, when they combine with each other, they react with each other to neutralize each other. Okay, neutralize each other. They simply neutralize. Then you do not have advantage of EDTA also, as well as sodium hypochlorite also. With rotary instrument, anyways, our irrigation time has gone down. Sodium hypochlorite requires 20 to 30 minutes of contact time in the canal, which is not there anymore, because our uh, 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 with rotary instruments, our preparations have become very fast. Okay, so I do not want to reduce that further by using EDTA. So EDTA paste is almost useless for me. I practically don't use it. Liquid EDTA I definitely use, and right at the end of my irrigation, that's last cycle of liquid EDTA, which you saw, right? So that is how we use it. Sir, can you please mention the name of the brooch used? Well, I use Micromega brooches. Micromega was the first company in the world to make any endodontic instruments way back in 1905. Let me tell you a quick story in 2 minutes over here. So there was one dentist in 1905. He went to a Mr. Garnier, who was the owner of Micromega. It's a French company. And he asked him, can you make something for me to remove the nerves from a tooth? If I remove the nerve from the tooth goes painless. Okay. That was a very early understanding of the root canal science. Okay. So in short, you do pulp extirpation and patient's pain goes off for a while at least. Right. That was the whole idea from his side. So this Mr. Garnier was into making spare parts for Swiss watches. So very fine tooling, okay, was their expertise. Swiss watches have those very fine parts, and which are extremely durable. Was their actual business. There was nothing like dental business as such. And that was a very competitive market. The Swiss watch spare parts was a very competitive market. He suddenly felt, oh, this is a new niche line where there is no practically competition. So he made a barb brooch for him. The original design still remains the same, and it is the same barb brooch which we use. Okay, extremely durable. I say buy a packet of it, and you will see that it will last you for uh, maybe 1 year easily. Easily. Okay. I heard about file retrieval cases with K400. How is that done? You can do it. Anything that is used, wherever you use K file, you can use K400 K file handpiece. Okay, there's nothing wrong in using it over here. What's your take on ultrasonic versus pads? Well, it's about, as I said, it is about reaching to one destination. Well, if I have to go to Delhi, what is your take? Whether I should take a flight or a train or a bus? Okay, it's about, or which company train or which company flight I should be taking. So it's everyone's preference. So pads is another excellent system. You could use pads, or you could. It's about better cleaning of the canals, whatever you prefer. Activation of liquid EDTA with what? With the same sonic or ultrasonic device. Okay, we can use sonic or ultrasonic device to here. I what I showed you was Endo Ultra, but similar tips are available with other systems also. You can simply buy ultrasonic tips which are available from Woodpecker and put it in your normal scaler, and you can use that. So, sir, how I manage premolars, maxillary and mandibular with 3 canals with maximum dentin preservation. Uh, 3 canal premolars, whether it is upper or lower, are little difficult because of they are basically there is another term which is used for this teeth is called a molarized premolar, meaning it is the anatomy can be similar to molar which has got 3 canals or 4 canals, and it is of it's a molar which has been of the size of the premolar. It's a smaller one. Okay, so the direction of each canal is different, which is which we need to know. 1 canal at a time. Of course, preparation is 1 canal, but obturation also. You finish 1 canal obturation at one time, then you obturate other canal, then you obturate third canal. When you follow this, you will preserve dentin maximum. It's not very difficult. Magnification plays extremely important role in this because you can see the things much better over here. Okay. Can we treat a periapical lesion bigger than 5 mm size in non-surgical RCT field? Yes, we can. We can definitely use, just checking, just in case if I have any missed call from your side and I have not realized this. So, um, a periapical lesion with non-surgical RCT method, yes, for me, believe me, in when I studied, I did my post graduation from Nair Hospital Dental College, where all the apicectomies were done by endo department. Endo department, so not oral surgery. So I must have done at least 75 apicectomies when I passed my MDS 20 years ago. Okay, but gone are those days. We don't even do 2, 3, 4 apicectomies in our clinic. Majority of the cases, majority size of the lesion doesn't play any role. I, in maybe in future, I will show you some of the cases where a huge lesion involving mandibular canal we have healed completely non-surgically. Okay, so anyways, we have taken some questions. I repeat. Hello, Dr. Ajay. What heat is recommended for BC sealer? And papers project that heat causes decreased efficacy of BC sealer. Well, bioceramic sealers, there are some sealers where when we remove the excess, when we heat, the efficacy reduces. Especially, there are some couple of Indian sealers. If you even touch the heat source to this sealer, it becomes powder. Okay, but not with Cerasil. Cerasil is a special bioceramic material, a special bioceramic sealer. You use with it, and you could see how comfortably I could reduce, and it still preserved the properties. The properties remain the same. There's no issue with the sealer. Is there any chance or chances of sodium hypochlorite going beyond the apex and bone and causing toxicity? Yes, it can definitely happen. And that's basically sodium hypochlorite accident, we call it. Okay. Have you ever seen that while irrigating, suddenly patient gets sharp shooting pain? Okay. And he suddenly complains of severe pain. In that case, in most of the times, a droplet of sodium hypochlorite has escaped beyond the apex, and that is leading to that excruciating pain. Okay, so it is possible, and that's the reason we say use side vent needles. When you have a side vent and when the tip is closed, the pressure is released on the side. If the normal needles which we use, which are open, okay, there is a chance that the sodium hypochlorite can get pushed beyond. Side vent, single side vent is more than enough. You do not require double side vent needles. There's no need. And they are cheap, meaning they are not expensive anymore. They cost around 10, 11 rupees a needle, okay, which is not expensive. So you can definitely use side vent needles over here. Reasons for post-endodontic pain in cases all looks good, even in CBCT and management of those cases. Okay. Now this could be particular to some particular type of case, but in general, I want to tell you, why do you feel that after your root canal, patient should never have pain? Please do not keep that thing in your mind. Okay. Simple as that. I tell my patient, look, there was one main nerve which was going from here. It gave four branches inside this molar. What we have done, we have cut those four branches. The way, if these four fingers are rotten in and if doctor had to amputate them, cut them off, there will be wounds. If somebody touches those wounds, there will be pain for a few days. Okay. Likewise, if patient tries to bite on that side, there can be pain. Okay. So a good antibiotic coverage for me, amoxicillin, the clavulanic acid works. What does it my practice? Whether it is my routine endodontic cases or my implant cases, for me, it's once stop antibiotic. Most of the cases, 99% of the cases, Amox Clav is fantastic. I'm actually a fan of Mega Series 625 because the cold chain which they maintain, sorry, the dry chain which they maintain, the packaging and everything is so good that you rarely find our patients complaining of diarrhea. And which is the fact, we do not want our patients to complain that I've got diarrhea because of which I had to stop the antibiotic. Okay, so Mm, give for post endodontic pain, if at all, you can give antibiotic and anti-inflammatory coverage, and that's more than enough. It is normal to have post endodontic pain of certain degree. Okay. Uh, can you share something about magnification? Magnification itself is a huge, big topic. If your budget permits, you should buy a microscope. Okay. What do you look at microscope while buying? A stable base. That is more important. There's some microscope which are available right at 1 lakh rupee, and there's some microscope which can cost you 35 lakh rupees also. What I will see, optics, not a very big difference. Not a very, very big difference. Optics of cheaper, maybe of little lower quality, and optics of like it's you go and buy a TV, you buy a TV which is costing you 20,000 rupees, and you can buy a TV which is costing you 2 lakh rupees. Optics, there is difference, but not a great difference which is left. A 20,000 TV is not going to be that bad that you can't hardly can see anything, you cannot make out the faces. No, it doesn't happen so. There are other features which come with them which give you advantage. If you cannot, then you can buy loops, and that is going to be another big topic if you continue talking about it. Okay. So thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir. In severe apical third curvature, should we try to go full length with rotary files or prepare the canal beyond curvature with hand files only? Sometimes. It's a very good question and very vital question. In this case, it was almost a hockey stick curvature, a 90-degree curvature, and I simply went ahead with my file because I really rely on Micromega files, and they never surprise me. And it's not here, it is a recorded video, but I have done it so many times, at least 60, 70 times in the live procedure which we have done in different conferences. Okay, where I have done this kind of cases live. Okay, I simply say, let's see, you can see this file, and now I'm going to enter in the canal and prepare the canal live in front of. Or whenever we have this, I've done around 20 plus lecture courses, hands-on courses, Mega CV also, and in which I usually ask participants to give the most difficult to they have with a curvature and all. And we prepare, I actually prepare it live and show you that it is not difficult to prepare if you have good files to working on it. Okay. Having said that, if you're still scared, now there are good reciprocating systems which are available in the market. And one such reciprocating system which I'm right now working on, and I see endless possibilities with this file, especially with general dentists, and that called One Reci, which is not yet available in India, but I think within a month's time we should have it. And it is a reciprocating system. So if in rotary, if you feel you are not getting good control, in reciprocation, at least you will be able to control this very easily. Okay. Another question on sodium hypochlorite exclusion, which we have already spoken about. sodium hypochlorite and EDTA in what percentage? Sodium hypochlorite, when I say sodium hypochlorite, I know only 1% is 5.25%. Okay? That's the only percentage I will, meaning higher percentage. But please remember, when I say 5%, I am actually working with rubber dam. Okay, so chances of any burns are not there. Chemical burns are not there. Otherwise, it's a simple proof. It is so simple. When we use sodium hypochlorite at higher concentration, patient may have chemical burns. It simply means it dissolved the tissue at wrong place. It was supposed to do the same action, dissolve the tissues inside the chamber, inside the canal. Instead of that, it did on the mucosa. It dissolved the mucosa, uppermost layer of the mucosa, right? EDTA, which comes in one single percentage, that is 17% liquid EDTA, we do not really need to do anything. Won't it lead to file breakage without EDTA? Without EDTA, no. Don't be afraid. Okay, it is simple. One of the property of sodium hypochlorite is lubrication. Take sodium hypochlorite on your fingers and see. It is definitely more lubricating than water. One. Okay. EDTA, it softens the dentin. But if you give time for it to soften the dentin, then it will do. I take rotary instrument coated with EDTA and enter inside. And my blades, before it even goes and coats the canal walls, dentin, and starts softening it, my blades of the rotary instruments have already cut 0.05 or zero point 0.1 millimeter of dentin already over there. Did my EDTA really work over there? I did not give time. Do I go put EDTA in the canal, coat, wait for 30 seconds, 1 minute, and then go with rotary instruments? No, I don't do that. Okay, so it doesn't really help me that way. Okay, apical third file breaks even after bypassing causes pain. Is it a case for apicectomy? In a apical third, if the file is broken, you could bypass it, and in spite of that, patient has got pain. Yes, it is. It can be a case of apicectomy. So these are some of the areas where we still will go with periapical surgeries. Okay, this can be a case of apicectomy. I think we have taken all questions from here. Okay, there are some still questions left. Why aspiration is not required for sunshine gun? Uh, it's not that it is not required. That feature is not there with sunshine gun. Okay, uh, to get that feature into gun, one has to keep the cost in control, and all the guns which are available with aspiration property in the market are in the tunes of 1.5 lakh rupees. Okay, sunshine gun does not have function of aspiration, and this is costing around 22,000 rupees. Okay, the major cost difference. So, but this is important for us to know. Uh, while using Apex, sometimes chances changes are very fast or fluctuates very fast. It usually happens when your file is loose. If your file is loose, you may have those fluctuating readings. Okay. Can we use MTA as a root canal sealant? Yes, you can use. There are MTA-based root canal sealants available in the market. So we can definitely use. Can you use? Please suggest good rubber dam sealant. Good rubber dam sealant. I'll tell you. I'll tell you a secret of good rubber dam sealant. If you do your bleaching cases in your clinic, the liquid dam which you use on gingiva, right, while doing bleaching, is the best rubber dam sealant, liquid rubber dam. Okay, that is what I use in my clinic very commonly. Okay, which tooth requires calcium hydroxide dressing. For us, there was a time when we used to use calcium hydroxide left, right, center. But now most of the endodontists don't use calcium hydroxide because if I'm obturating, I want to see those lateral canals filled well. And if I'm using what do you call calcium hydroxide, many a times I don't see my lateral canals getting filled well. Okay, and with that we realize that if you follow the proper cleaning shaping protocol, need of calcium hydroxide is hardly there. How do we manage? And we have seen this question. We've seen this question. How to prevent breakage of rotary instruments? Okay, when files should be discarded. Okay, ideally you should be discarding the files as ideally with every case or any case which has canal has been curved at stressful, you could discard. I'll tell you a simple idea. You have the golden shank of the rotary instrument. Okay, after every use, after every time you have used on a tooth, say there were 4 canals and 4 difficult canals. So I will take my rotary handpiece, I will take my burr, and I will just touch. I will start my burr and I will just touch it twice. Every 2 canals, I will make one scratch, one simple scratch on the golden shank. And this is how I know how many times I have used my rotary instrument. So if I have a complicated case and if I have those 3 4 scratches, say 4 scratches meaning I have already used this file for 8 canals, I will not use this file over there. I will prefer to use a file which is new or probably only with one scratch. Okay. However, if the canal is nice, simple state like a premolar or anterior tooth, where I use this old file which has been used multiple times and I know how many times I've used, naturally it is going to be and I can still use it, optimize my use, and I can use it for one more case. Mm, which woodpecker endotypes any specification and numbers? Well, woodpecker makes close to 40 different types of tips. Okay, if you want, I can share the ultrasonic tip book with Dr. Pankaj Shirke, and he can share. It's a PDF which can be shared even by WhatsApp. And every tip has got its own purpose. Some of them are diamond coated, some of them are not, and they can be used right from to remove punch stone to broken instrument, to shape up the canal walls, to clean the cavities. There are many purposes for which it can be used. Extrusion of bioceramic sealer over the apex and what complications are. And this is the last question where we will stop. Extrusion of bioceramic sealer over the apex and what complications are associated with puff form. Thankfully, meaning it is common for bioceramic sealer to get extruded beyond the apex. Thankfully, zero complication. Most of the bioceramic sealers which we see world over right now, good bioceramic sealers, even if they go and create a puff beyond apex, patient doesn't even have pain. Okay, doesn't even have pain, meaning this typically when it comes in injection system, initially when we are using the system we find that a lot of bioceramic sealer has gone beyond apex and we get scared, but patient comes out happily saying he did not have any pain or trouble because it does not lead to any inflammatory reaction. Okay, the only thing is whatever has gone beyond apex in bioceramic sealer will never resolve. Bioceramic sealers are not known to resolve. Okay, and that's their property. That is how the sealer should be. Even in the if it can resolve beyond the apex, it can resolve inside the canals also, right? It should not resolve. So with that, 2 hour 10 minutes almost, and I think we covered more than 30, 40 questions, around 25 questions to begin with, and another 10 questions, which we 10, 15 questions we must have taken now, with 2 detailed cases which we showed you. And I hope this session has been useful to you. And because you guys like these sessions, and that is what is encouraging all of us to do this kind of program. Thank you, Dr. Pankaj and Premraj sir. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to connect with my audience once again. Thank you so much.